Hi, I'm Mike Cheney from DDI Software. If you've watched some of my prior tutorials, perhaps you own Qimage and you've watched some of those, I can see you frowning at the screen right now asking, why is he sitting in front of his Epson ET-8550? This is new. Well, it is new because I have a new product for you today called Print Prism that's going to turn your Epson Ecotank or Canon Megatank printer into printer profiling workhorses that can create printer profiles for any printer, any ink, and any media type. And this is not just a revival of the old scanner-based profiling tools like the old Print Prism, which was also a product that we made. This is totally new. We've used in-house tools and meticulous scanning and testing to discover the spectral response curves of the supported scanners. And I'll list the supported scanners on the screen so that you can see. As long as you scan with one of those scanners, you can profile any printer. You basically print a printer target that looks like this on any printer with color management off, and you scan that in your scanner of your Ecotank or Megatank printer and make a few selections in Print Prism, and you've got an accurate profile for that printer, paper, and ink combination. Now, as I said about the spectral response, this is not a revival of old tools that required that you buy or have shipped one of these reference targets and you scan that with the printer target. That's not needed anymore. Only thing you need to do is print this on your printer, and you need to have the Print Prism software and one of the supported scanners, and you can develop profiles just from that. No extra targets or reference targets needed, just the printer target. And the Achilles heel of old scanner-based software where you had to scan a reference target, like these two together, is they would look at the scan and decide this is correct, make this look correct. But the issue with that is that the scanner sees any target the way the scanner sees the target. It's subject to the light source and the sensor in the scanner. And the profiles that you got, while they were good enough, they didn't have the same response as your eyes when you look at a print. So by discovering with our in-house tools that we created, by discovering the spectral response of the printer's light and sensor, we can convert that data to data that your eyes perceive as correct. And that's the difference. That's the advancement here in Print Prism. It's unique software, the only software of its kind that I know of. And it'll just allow you in a few minutes to just get a profile with, I mean, look at how many color patches there are on there. That's over 9,000. I'd say that's probably enough. And the reason we can have so many is because we're using a scanner, and we don't have to use a device like this, like a handheld spectrophotometer. We've turned your scanner basically into a spectrophotometer. And instead of taking one of these and trying to run down lines of patches and make sure you don't misalign something, or if you have an even more expensive one that's upwards of $1,000 or more that automatically scans, they're limited to the number of patches they can read. These scanners are high resolution and can read a lot of patches for a lot of accuracy. So that's enough about how this whole system works. Let's jump over to the PC and I'll let you take a look at the software itself and see how easy it is to create profiles. All right, let's start with a little executive summary of what we're going to do here. We've already installed Print Prism by running the installer that we download. And by running that installer, it will install this printer target -40. And that's the target that we're going to print from our printing software. So we're going to print this target with color management turned off and then scan it. So the target is located in your Windows Pictures folder. And we're going to be using Qimage for this demonstration because it's our software and it makes printing with color management turned off very easy. And that's very important to have color management turned off when you print this target. So what we're going to do is print this with color management turned off, And if you're using software other than Qimage, like if you're using Photoshop, for example, Photoshop will not allow you to print with color management turned off. You have to download their little Adobe Color Print utility. So you can search for that and download that. If you're using other software, Lightroom, Affinity, whatever, just search for how to print a test target with, and then enter your program name. And you should be able to figure out how to print this with color management turned off. So we're going to go over the process here in Qimage, and you can apply it to whatever software you use. But Qimage is recommended anyway, because it does a better job printing than anything else to begin with. So we're just going to do it here, and we're going to go through the whole process. We're going to take this target, and the reason that we print it with all color management turned off is that these are all RGB values in these color patches here, and it's important that they get to the printer without being massaged or changed. And then once this is printed, the scanner, acting as a proxy spectrophotometer, the way that we've characterized it, it will take these RGB values and find out what that actually looks like to the human eye. And that's the way this process works. So when we scan it and bring that into Print Prism, then we can create a profile from it. So what we're going to do here is we've located the target. This is what we want to print. We're going to go to our software. We're going to select the right printer, obviously. We're going to select the media type that comes closest to the media that we're using. I have some leftover Canon paper that I want to use. And of course, I'm using Canon paper in an Epson printer, so I need a profile. So that's the usefulness of this software, is that you can profile any paper, but just pick the media type that comes closest to whatever paper that you're using. And that will set up the ink density for the printer, and you can get good prints from it. Media size, I would recommend 8.5 by 11. This target should be printed no smaller than about 5 by 7. But if you're loading it in another software, the default size is 10.3 by 7.5. But here, the size is not important as long as you print it as big as you can on the size paper that you're using. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down to the next option, which is printer profile. And this is the most important part. You're going to drop this down and turn printer profile off. And it warns you that, do you really want to disable printer color management? And it describes that you should only be doing this for a test target. So I say yes. Now color management is off in the software. We want it to be off in the printer as well, because that's the second place that could modify our target values. Luckily, if you're using Qimage, it has AI that automatically handles that. So it already set the color management to off in the driver if you use a Canon or an Epson printer. But we can go in here and double check that. Click on properties there to open the driver. And if you're in any other software, you're going to have to do this manually anyway, like I'm showing you here. You're going to find the color management options, which in this Epson printer is under More Options, Advanced, and then it brings up color management. Make sure no color adjustment or none is selected, depending on the driver. So what you're doing here is whatever driver you're using, they all have a little bit different dialogues. You're looking for color management or color mode, and either set it to no color adjustment or none. And that's all we have to do there. Now color management is off in the software and off in the driver. So we're ready to go. One other thing I would recommend here, it's not absolutely necessary, but I like to take sharpen and turn it off. And there's no reason to, sharpen a color target. So next, we're just going to add it at the right size. And in Qimage, I'm just going to click on it and then make sure this crop button here is turned off, because you definitely don't want to crop the target, and then click Fit to Page. And that just makes it fit on the page as large as it can print. And then we'll just click Print here and print this. And let me click Soft Proof here to show you what the actual page looks like. This is what the piece of paper is going to look like when it comes out of the printer. After it comes out of the printer, the only thing we're going to do next is cut off all these white edges. Again, that's not absolutely necessary, but I think it makes for a better scan. So if you have a paper cutter and you find it easy enough, cut off the white edges so you're just down to the black border, it's important that the black border stay. Don't cut it all the way up against the color patches. Leave the black border and do like it says, cut along the dotted line. Okay, using the ET-8550 from Epson here as our example, we're going to scan the printed target. We printed our target and it looks something like this. We've printed it fit to page on a letter size sheet and made sure there's no cropping. And we've trimmed along the edges. As you can see, there's only a black border there. Now on the scanner, on the supported scanner that we're going to use, we just open the lid here and put the target in there. And I recommend putting the target in there to give the maximum amount of glass around the target. Open space, like around here and on the sides. So here we're just going to place it in the middle. Don't place it like this. And the reason is because you want the scanner to see the white backing here around the target. It helps it get a better scan. So we're going to just place it like that, try to get it as straight as we can, and it doesn't matter if this is rotated 180 degrees. Print Prism will figure that out automatically for you, and I'll show you that. But we're just going to close the lid here, and then we're going to use Print Prism to scan this target. All right, we're going to open Print Prism for the first time after installing it now, and I'll just open it up from the desktop icon. Now, this comes up the first time that you run Print Prism, and it's asking for your email address. It's just a little delayed startup to remind you to enter your email address because that's important for future updates. So we're going to enter our email address here and then click Complete Registration. It does allow you to get into the software without doing that in case your internet connection is down right after you buy it and first time you install it, or there's some issue with that. We do have a way to send you a manual activation if you need to do that, so you can just contact us if you need to, but that won't typically be a problem. You normally just enter your email address here and then click Complete Registration, and then you'll never see this message again. Here we're just going to bypass that and go into the software. This is the Print Prism main interface here, and there's 4 steps. We're going to import the scan, so we're going to make a scan of our target that we placed in the scanner. We're going to verify that the software knows what scanner we used, and then we're going to specify just the title and the file name of the profile that we're going to create. And then the step 3 is to make sure that Print Prism knows where the corners of the target are, and that's it. You just click Create Profile. So let's start out here. If you have a Canon or an Epson printer, it should show up in this list here. The first thing we're going to do is select the scanner we're going to use, so we click on this button. Don't select these WIA options because that's Windows Image Acquisition. That's a general dialog that doesn't have enough options, so don't use that. Use the driver installed with the manufacturer. So for the Epson ET-8550, that would be this one. For the Canon G600 that I have, it would be this one. So just select the correct one without the WIA in the front. That's the correct one for the Epson. And then we're just going to click Scan. Now, if for some reason when we click Scan, our Twain driver isn't working, it can't contact the printer, or something goes wrong with that, there's no need to panic. You can always open Epson Scan 2 or Canon Scan Gear standalone, scan the image in that and save the image from the standalone software, and then just go here and open the saved scan as a file. You can find the file and you can load the file. But we're going to scan directly from Print Prism here. So we're going to click this button that says Scan Now, and that opens Epson Scan 2. In here, we just want to make sure that color management is turned off. Now, these settings that I'm going to show you here are for Epson Scan 2. The settings that you need to use for Canon Scan Gear are on the website under the Help system, or in Print Prism right here. You can click Help and then Online Manual, and the settings for the Canon are located in there. I'm just going to go through the Epson one here. They're similar on the Canon. So again, color management needs to be off. Remember, color management off, off, off for everything in this whole process that we're doing. And we have to deal with raw values here. So color management, we click on that and make sure this says none. Click OK. It's going to tell you that it's going to reset everything to default. That's good. We click yes. Now that we've done that, we just want to make sure that all these settings are as shown here. They should be by default. Make sure this says color because you don't want to scan in grayscale. and make sure resolution is 300 dpi, which I think is the default. So really probably shouldn't have to change anything here, and we're ready to scan. But first we'll preview it. We click the preview and we wait for the preview to show up in the preview window here. And the only thing that we're doing here is just making sure that the target looks relatively straight in the scanner. So that looks pretty straight to me. And it doesn't matter what orientation it's in. Print Prism should be able to figure out the orientation after it gets the scan. That looks good. Now we're going to go ahead and scan it. So we click on the scan button. And right now the scanner is scanning that target at 300 dpi, and it's going to send that scan to Print Prism. Okay, so the Epson Scan 2 is done. It has sent the file, and now Print Prism is saying you need to save that before we continue. So you can save that anywhere you want. It doesn't make any difference. Just save it in a location that you'll remember. I already have one here from before, so I'm just going to pick this one. But you know, typically you would enter a new file name here. Like I could enter what I'm trying to do here, like Epson 8550 with Canon paper or something, and just type that in and click save. But we need to save that image to continue. It's going to ask me to overwrite because that one was already there. And then you notice that the scan appears in this window here that you can drag around. The very first thing that we're going to do is, if you scan from within Print Prism, it should automatically set this scanner used. Because this is your sort of proxy spectrophotometer here. It needs to know what scanner scanned this. If you use the scan from within Print Prism, it should automatically set this for you. But if not, you know, you'll have to select it from the list. So that's the important thing here. It needs to know. And then the next detail we have to enter is just the description of the profile that we're using. And just to save time, I've already entered a name here that's appropriate. And this is just the title that gets embedded inside your ICC profile. You can put anything in there, but again, give it a description so that you can actually find it, because this is what's going to show up in your printing software. You'll have to locate this profile to use it. So this is the title you're typing in. Down here, we're going to give it a file name. We're not actually saving it here, but we're just setting the save location and file name. So you can type in here, but that's kind of old school. You just click on this button here to choose the profile save location and file name. So we're just going to click here, and you'll notice that it automatically opens into the Windows Color folder, which is where all your profiles should be. And again, just give it a descriptive name here. I would recommend naming it the same thing. Technically, you don't have to, but you should be able to find the file here if you ever have to search through files for some reason. So just give it the same name as the description here. And typically that'll come up by default, the same name as you chose here. But for the demo, I had done some other things, so I had to type it in. Click Save. So now we've set the title that shows up when you are selecting it in your printing software, and we've chosen where to save the file. Now the next thing that we have to do is make sure that Print Prism knows where the corners of this target are so it can locate all the patches. Fortunately, that should be easy. Just click Detect Corners here, and it should find these. Watch this red corner where the cursor is. See, it automatically found all the corners and put yellow markers on them. And I can already tell that it did it right because the white punch outs are located within each color patch, and they're not off to the side or overlapping two or anything like that. So I can tell that it already did it correctly. If for some reason it failed, or these are off or something, let's say it came up, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's say it came up and this corner was, you know, way off or something. Now you'll notice that, you know, the punch outs don't look like they're in the right position. I must have a problem. So once you scroll to this corner, you can see, yeah, that one's off. I got to replace that. You can use the manual buttons here to manually mark the corners. Just click on the button that you want to mark, and then click on the corner, and do that for all four, and they should be marked. So now we've taken care of step 3. Print Prism knows where all the color patches are, and they look aligned properly. Now you'll see that it does give you some stats once that it puts these white punch outs in here. It says 4 patches are marked with an X that are near clipped or clipped. That's really good. I've seen numbers in the hundreds before, and they generate profiles just fine. So don't obsess about this number right here. If you ever want to know what one of these patches is, a kind of a cool feature is, like this red patch here, if you want to know what RGB values came out of the scan, just right click, and it gives you a little densitometer. It shows you the details for that patch. But, you know, that's just a little aside. You shouldn't need that little diagnostic. So don't obsess over the number of patches that were marked. Just go ahead and create the profile. And here I already have one. Yeah, I want to overwrite it. So now you can see that it's building the profile here. And on a well-spec machine, it should take under a minute to generate the profile. Now it's done, and it tells you down here it saved the file. It tells you where it saved it. And you can go use this profile now from your printing software.